doing? It's a beautiful day here in South Mississippi. I hope you are doing well as we are together for the weekly training. And today it's going to be about how to bounce back from a slump in your business quickly. And if you've been in business for any amount of time, I'm sure you have found yourself in a slump or in a valley of the business. The valleys don't discriminate against agents. They come to all of us, and I think that's the first thing that we have to realize is that life contains ebbs and flows. Life is about cycles, and how can we overcome that valley as quickly as possible so that we can start back our climb to the top of the mountain. And that's going to be what I talk about today. For those that are new, I am Andrea Garrettson. I am a licensed insurance agent. Been one for a little over 10 years now. I have sold everything from employee benefits to life insurance. Life insurance is where I tend to spend most of my time because it is what I'm most passionate about. And so let's dive in and start talking about. I am no stranger to the flow of business. I have had several situations over the years that have caused me to get into the valley, into a slump. But the thing about it is that when I really stop and I look back, a lot of it was on me. I caused my own valley. And that's a tough conversation to have because we sometimes want to blame everything externally, that these leads suck and if I only had more help from my upline and all these things. But we really have to stop and ask ourselves, where is this coming from? And I've come up with some questions and some common things that happen that cause us to find ourselves in that valley. So the first thing that I suggest that you do, if you're not hitting the numbers and it just seems like you can't get ahead in the business, you're really just struggling in the business, is to really stop and ask yourself, where is this coming from? Like, what's causing this period? Am I lacking clarity? And clarity is such a big thing for us when we're trying to build a business. We need clarity in knowing where we're trying to go and what we're trying to accomplish. A vision is important to us, not only as people, but as business owners. We have to know what we're trying to accomplish every day within our business. And one day it seems that we can have clarity, and the next it's so cloudy. And when we don't have clarity, a lot of times it causes some paralysis for us. And paralysis leads very quickly to a negative cash flow because money likes movement. And insurance is an activity-based business. So we always have to be moving in the business to be successful. But sometimes when we don't have clarity on what we're trying to accomplish, it's hard for us to move. It's hard for us to do activity. And so that would be the first thing that I would ask myself is, do I have clarity on what I'm trying to accomplish? And a lot of agents or a lot of leaders talk about knowing your why. Well, I have a mentor and she takes it a step deeper, and it's about knowing what your highest intention is. And I believe that is so much more important than knowing, because our why kind of fuels our highest intention. But what is it that we want people to say about us at our funeral? Like, Andrea, she served the senior market, or whatever it is. And then every day I ask myself, is what I'm doing moving me closer to accomplishing that highest intention that I'm trying to live by with my core values? And really being clear on what your highest intention is not only for life but for your business, that adds a lot of clarity. And so then you can reverse engineer what you need to do every day to move you forward so that you can accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. I have a worksheet, if you would like it, where you can work through and identify what your highest intention is. Just leave a comment in the comments and I'll get it over to you. But the first thing that I would say is, if you're struggling right now in the business, ask yourself, do you have clarity on what you're trying to do in the business? I mean, maybe you need to change your products, or maybe, do you have a clear path of where you're going in your business? The second thing that I would ask myself is this a form of self-sabotage? Now, that might not be as obvious to everyone, but I'll share a little story. I am notorious for self-sabotage. I've seen it over the years in my insurance business over and over, but I didn't until recent realize what was happening. If I had a really, really good week and I went out and I wrote a lot of insurance, instead of riding on that momentum that we know is so hard to get in business and so easy to lose, that next week I would let up and slack up until I was in that point of like my back's against the wall again and I've got to write business. And it was continually that cycle. I would, instead of just continuing on with my level of activity, no matter what type of week I had, when I had a really good week, I would let up. I would let off the gas. And that led to this. But I've since realized that we can become highly addicted to cortisol levels. And as sad as it is to say, I may like stress. And so I don't know how many times I've said in my life that, I perform better when my back's against the wall. Yeah, because that level of cortisol is so high, and that's what I'm accustomed to. And I didn't even realize what I was doing. I mean, I realized that for some reason I wouldn't consistently just have killer weeks, but I didn't realize that I was purposely sabotaging my business. And of course that leads to a deeper, question that you need to find out, why exactly could you be doing that? But that would be the second thing I would ask myself. Is this a form of self-sabotage? What's going on? Why am I here? And the third thing that can lead to us really being in a valley is that we're not doing proper self-care. And we're mentally and physically drained, because what we do every day is highly draining, to put it kindly. I mean, if you're in the life business, you can talk about death all day. You talk to people about, dying, and that can be emotionally draining for us. And maybe not so much now that COVID's hit, but I know that, I used to travel 1,000 miles a week because I went over into Louisiana to write business. And I mean, that's tiring on the body. And we don't eat properly when we're out on the road. And our brain and our body needs the proper fuel to perform efficiently. And so not only are we not getting the rest and taking care of ourselves, then we're not drinking enough water. The brain needs water to perform. We're not eating the proper foods. We're eating, fast food because we're out on the road and it's just easier. So are you neglecting self-care for yourself, and has this led to you being in a slump in your business? Can you tweak, what you do for yourself, eating better, drinking more water, exercising, going on a brief walk every day, just so that you mentally feel better, you physically feel better, and you can show up in your business the way you want? Because something has to change if you're in a slump right now. And the key is to get out of that slump as quickly as possible. And the fourth thing that I would ask myself is, do I need to manage expectations better? And when I talk about expectations, I believe that we have to have expectations of ourselves and of the business. but sometimes we can have unrealistic expectations. And that can lead to us feeling like we're in a slump because we're not performing at the level that we think we should be performing. So ask yourself, are you managing your expectations properly? Or do you need to adjust them? Are you expecting too much out of your business and you're only doing it part-time maybe? Are you expecting too much out of your upline? Are you expecting too much out of your customers? Like, take an audit of your expectations and see where they're at. Like, I know for me, that's something that I have to do daily because I have such high expectations for myself that I tend to hold others to those expectations. But a lot of times they don't even know that they're being held to them. So we have to be careful of that. Not expecting and comparing ourselves to other agents. That's a big one, right? Because the insurance business is such a competitive business, and our leaders, they almost pit us against each other with leaderboards and smack talk and trying to get the most out of us. And while a little bit of that is good, we have to step back and realize what is our highest intention, what is our definition of success for the business, and stop comparing ourselves to other agents. For so long, my ideal of success in the insurance business was just not being broke on time nor money, having enough money and time to enjoy life. Because at the end of the day, the reason why I got into the insurance business was to have that time freedom so I never missed anything of my daughters. And for so long, I held on to that ideal of success. And, but then the more we become online and we start seeing all these crazy, unrealistic expectations that people put out there, that you can make all this money and you not work and you do this, and this one's posting photos of this, and like you suddenly feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just such a failure at what I'm doing, because you lose sight of what your ideal of success is for the business. And I think that we have to hold true to what we're trying to achieve in the business and measure our levels based on our definition, because everybody's definition of success is going to be different. We all view it as something different. And so we have to stay firm in our belief in what we view success as, and not let that outside noise that I talk about so often beat us down and get us into that slump. Because it's a beautiful business that we're in. We have unlimited opportunities to provide for us and our family, and to have everything that we want if we work hard enough. But we can't wallow in that valley for long periods of time. We have to figure out what's causing it and work ourselves out. After my dad died, I literally sat for 7 months, pretty much paralyzed. I was doing everything I could to escape reality. If someone called, I would go and see them. But as far as actively prospecting or buying leads, I didn't do it. And, for me, it was probably a little bit of all of it. It was some self-sabotage. It was not managing my expectations, because I expected myself to be able to bounce back. It was a little bit of all that not having clarity, because I couldn't figure out how did I go back to an industry that I had balanced being there for my dad for 3.5 years to just the industry alone. Like, there were so many things going on, but I never stopped and asked myself these questions. I just sat. And, finally one day I realized that I had to get back out there. But if I had gotten back out there faster, would the outcome have been different? So I think that it's important that we ask ourselves these questions if we're not where we want to be right now in the business. If it's like we can't seem to, get ourselves on a call to book an appointment, like we're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so done. Like, ask yourself, where is this coming from? Because we all got into the insurance business for some reason. And we have to go back and understand why we're doing what we're doing. and realize what our highest intention and our definition of success is, and what do we need to do every day to move us towards that. So I hope this was helpful. I was actually looking in another Facebook group of insurance agents one day last week, and I saw that a lot of agents were talking about this, that they just, they mentally were over the business. They couldn't hardly perform. And like, that's what brought on this conversation, because I know what it's like. It can be such a lonely business, but I don't want anyone to feel like they're alone. Like, it's such a wonderful business, but it can be lonely as we're out and we're trying to make a difference while making a living. So hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, be sure and post them in the comments. And if you'd like that worksheet, so if you want some clarity on what you're trying to accomplish in the business, so that you know how to move forward and to game plan and figure out what you need to do so that you can reach that level that you're trying to reach, just let me know and I'll get you over that free worksheet. And I hope you'll have a wonderful weekend and enjoy the pretty weather, and I will talk to you again soon.